Hey everybody, it's Joe from Jeb and Joe Outdoors, and I'm just kind of hanging out here in the dog park today with Jeb. I'm here to do a video response to Smellin' Rose's 1,200 subscriber giveaway. And what he asked everybody to do was to talk about the navigational aids that they use. And I kind of break mine up into two categories. The first is using nature, and the second is using maps and devices. And as far as nature is concerned, some of the things that I can use and have open to me is I can use shadow sticks, and I can do that whether it's day or night. I don't do a lot of night hiking, so probably wouldn't need to do that. And then plants, you know, rhododendron is going to be a great indicator of water. So will mayapple, so ramps will be as well, watercress, all those things are great water indicators. The other good thing about rhododendron is that it'll usually, it's like a path that you have to follow. And if you can get above it, instead of trying to bushwhack through it, you can usually find your way to your water source, and in some cases, if you have to, find your way out, because if you follow a water source, you're eventually going to hit some sort of road or homes or something like that. And I use that quite a bit. The other thing that you can do with plants and trees specifically is sometimes on the top of a mountain, or if you're in a field where you have trees, and usually I find this is best with pine trees, but if they have unobstructed exposure to the sun, they're going to grow predominantly in a southerly direction, and you can verify this with your compass. But if you see branches all growing pretty much in the same direction, and it's a tree that has maximum exposure to the sun, it's a good bet that's heading south. And I have used that in the past. In a dense forest, you're not going to be able to do that unless you have a tree that's way above the canopy, and you can do it that way. And then the other thing that I can do in terms of nature, and there's a whole lot that, you know, we could cover about this, but these are some of the things that kind of are on my go-to list. If I'm in a dense forest and I'm bushwhacking, what I'll do is I'll break twigs or any kind of bramble, maybe every 20 feet at eye level. And that way what I'm doing is I'm using nature basically to blaze a little bit of a trail for me, so that if I get turned around or I need to backtrack, I can just find those little twigs that have been broken but haven't been taken off the tree or whatever the bush is, and follow that to get myself out. So that's an effective way of using nature as a navigational aid. I suppose that's not quite a navigational aid, but you can blaze your own trail a little bit that way, and that works. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the camera around, and I'm going to go over the maps and devices that I have. I don't necessarily use them all, but what I have. So stick around and I'll be right back. So I do use maps. This happens to be a Catskill Mountains trail map for one of the areas. And I also have a couple of apps on my phone. I don't think they're going to show up in the sunlight, that I use. Basically, they're compasses with trackback features. It's supposed to be low battery usage. I kind of have them as a backup more than anything else. I have a compass, and I have, this is kind of a cool little thing. This is a Bushnell backtrack, and basically what it is, it's a little GPS with 3 waypoints that you can plug in and mark. That way you can do one waypoint for your car, one waypoint for your campsite, and then if you want to go exploring and you find a place you want to come back and check out later, you can do a waypoint for that. So this is a pretty handy little tool to have. And then I have this Garmin Phoenix. This is a pretty cool watch that does a lot of things. It's got and I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but it's got a compass, it has an altimeter, it has a barometer, it has temp, and then back to time. And then if you go into the settings here, you can start the GPS to start your track. And then you've got waypoints that you can set You can save tracks, you can save routes, you can do sight and go, you can project a waypoint, you can do coordinates. There's all kinds of things that you can do with this watch. And to be honest, I haven't really used it that much because it's kind of big and it's kind of bulky. And I don't know, I just haven't really bonded with it yet. But I'm going to start to use it more because the backtrack feature on it is pretty cool. And you can also download maps into this too. So that's pretty cool. Now I'm going to turn the camera back around and talk to you guys about my number one navigational aid. So stick around and we'll be right back. Okay guys, so that's a little bit of a breakdown of what I use for navigation. I use Mother Nature, and I've got some devices and I've got some maps. But the other navigational aid that I use, and it's my go-to navigational aid, and this is, this is the truth, right there. This guy right here, he has an uncanny sense of the trail. One of the things that he does is like every 100 yards, 7,500 yards, what he'll do is he'll mark. And I can't tell you the number of times where I've been on a trail that's not well maintained and you just lose it. You lose the trail, you can't find the blazes, and you're kind of getting turned around. And this guy has always gotten me back on track. And I have a video, I believe, when I was hiking along the Musconetcong River, where I did actually, the trail just kind of disappeared and couldn't see any blazes, and this guy found it. And I trust him implicitly to just use his nose and get us back on track. And one other thing I forgot to mention in terms of using Mother Nature is just the line of sight. You pick an object off in the distance that you can see. It's like shooting a bearing with a compass, and you just go towards that image. If you're oriented in if you know your orientation, what direction you're in, and you need to get somewhere, just find, if you can, if you're not in too dense a forest, and even that you can do in the forest, just it would be a much shorter distance where you would just take a line of sight maybe 25 yards ahead and then take your next line of sight. You can always use that to navigate too. If you guys haven't checked out Smellin' Rose's channel, you really should. He is a great contributor to the outdoor community here on YouTube. Every video I shoot, he watches and leaves very, very thoughtful comments, and he's just an all-around good guy. And you should check out his channel. It's well worth it. He does a lot of bushwhacking, and he's all up and down the mid-Atlantic. I'd say from the Carolinas up to Virginia, Tennessee. I think he's even done some videos in Kentucky. And he just does a great job. And like I said, he's a great contributor to the community. So check out his channel. And until the next time, this is Jeb and Joe Outdoors, and we'll see you soon. Right, bud? All right.